Hey guys, and welcome back to another Speed Paint. Hi, what's up? I'm gonna be very brief because I really don't like this drawing, but it's here, so it's here to stay, as you can see. It's just a random drawing. I really don't like the colors. I think it's just because I, for some reason, decided I wanted to do colors that I usually don't use, and it's just always a disaster when I do that. So I don't like it. That's it. Let's just get back. Let's just get into the topic. So this is what I said I was gonna do last speed paint, and I couldn't do before, but now we're in complete silence, so I should be able to do this. But I'm gonna react to this little not react, we're gonna read, and we're gonna just together take this article from the Vulture. And I'm pretty sure the Vulture is not, or it's just a Vulture, it's not the Vulture, it's just Vulture. Vulture, you should be called a Vulture. Sounds cooler. But I found this article because I was researching about the simulation theory, because I was gonna do a video about it, but then I was like, there's like a million videos on YouTube about the simulation theory. You can probably find someone who's more eloquent than me to watch and understand this, so just look for those if you don't know. I mean, if you want to like a quick recap of what a simulation theory is, it's actually called the simulation hypothesis. I don't know, I always call it the simulation theory. I think it's because I'm a big Muse fan, but it's basically the idea or the hypothesis that we live in a computer simulation, meaning that our reality is not real and it's just all a program. And basically think the Matrix kind of deal, you know, how they were in a computer and then Neo wakes up and he's like, what the fuck, robots have us in a simulation, kind of like that. It's just a whole thing. I already reacted to having this. If you know if you watch my last video, you know that I started recording this and then disaster happened. So I've already reacted to half of this. So whatever I said in the intro last time, we're gonna talk about it later, so I'm not gonna get too into it. Let's just get into this article. And I just want to say that the reason this article caught my mind, or caught my attention, not my mind, is because it's called 15 Irrefutable Reasons Why We Might Be Living in a Simulation. The first thing that caught my mind is the word irrefutable, because if you know what the word irrefutable means, it means like you can't deny this. Like, these are hard set facts, you can't deny it. And put together with the word might in a title, I kind of feel like it's a contradiction, because you're saying like these are hard facts, but they might not be true. So it was just a weird it was just a weird title. Mr. Matt Steeb, author of this, weird title, I'm just saying. But I also thought like, wow, that's a bold claim to say these are like irrefutable. So I think that's why he added the might. But anyways, I'm gonna refute these because there's no irrefutable proof that we're living in a simulation. If there were irrefutable proof, everyone would know. Wouldn't we all know? And I'm pretty sure, like, and I want to make this clear, I'm a big believer in this. I'm a big believer that we live in a simulation. I think the odds are in favor of we living in a simulation, and I don't think it's sad. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Just because if in case we are a computer program, just because we're a computer program doesn't make our lives and our experiences meaningless. Actually, in my opinion, they give you more meaning, because if like there's another like this, like let's say the real human race or another race or just someone, they made this simulation and they're running it for a reason, so it kind of gives us humans a little bit more purpose. I feel like a lot of people think when they think about, oh, we're just a computer program, that that makes us meaningless, but not necessarily, unless we're like in The Sims and people are we're just like NPCs in The Sims, and like someone out there is playing. I don't know, maybe it's Trump. Okay, I shouldn't get into that. No, but wouldn't that make sense? We're living in a simulation and just like the worst people are the ones playing, and that's why they have like all that money, and we can't explain why, and why they treat others like shit and like they don't care. Okay, I'm getting too deep and it's 5 minutes in and this is a long thing. So let's just get into it and leave my conspiracy theories for another day. But anyways, reason number one is the Mandela Effect. And first things first, I don't believe that the Mandela Effect has anything to do with the simulation theory. For me, Mandela Effect is more of the time travel, multiple universe theory kind of thing, is how I would relate the Mandela Effect. I don't think it has anything to do with it. And basically what this article says, and if you don't know what the Mandela Effect is, it's basically like this idea or this thing, this effect that things happened in the past and we remember them differently. A good example of that is the one that is named after the Mandela Effect, Nelson Mandela's death. A lot of people remember him dying way before he actually died, and a lot of people remember learning in school that he died, and then when he actually died in 2013, everyone was shocked because everyone already thought he was dead. Another very popular one is like the Berenstain Bears. There's like Luke, I am your father. There's tons of them, and I think that most of them have a good explanation. So I do believe in the Mandela effects because I felt it, especially with Sex and the City. I thought it was Sex in the City for my whole life. Somehow someone was like, oh, it's Sex and the City, and I was like, what the fuck? Wasn't it Sex in the City? I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe there's like a reason for it. But according to this article, the reason the Mandela effect is irrefutable proof that we live in a simulation is because there's someone altering the code and just changing the past. And I just don't think that. I don't think that that is any proof at all. And honestly, I don't see the point of whoever is controlling the simulation changing the past. For me, it might have to do more with time traveling. The idea that if you time travel and you change something, then, you know, something's changed in the past. And, you know, kind of like butterfly effect too, I think. For me, if time travel is real, maybe when you change something, you create a new timeline. That's kind of like the Dragon Ball Z time travel. If anyone watches Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, who doesn't watch Dragon Ball Z, please? But yeah, I think it's more like parallel universe. Maybe we're like remember something from a different universe or from a different past. Maybe time traveling changed things, and that's why Mandela effect is happening. I think it honestly, like, if I'm gonna take the tinfoil hat off, I think it has to do a lot with the internet. Back then we had no internet, and maybe like we just remembered things differently, and now that the internet is a thing, it's easier to just like point out everything that was weird. I don't know, but I just don't believe this has anything to do with the simulation theory. Reason number 2 is the missing aliens, and this point basically says that how come we haven't found aliens? The fact that there are no aliens means that we live in a simulation, because that makes sense for some reason. We spent billions sending probes through outer space and should probably have found evidence of extraterrestrials by now, right? No, not really. I mean, one, there's like a lot of I'm a big Bob Lazar believer, so I believe we've made contact with aliens, like the human race has made contact with aliens. So there are no missing aliens for me. But also, in case it's all lies and we haven't made contact with aliens, there's like so many reasons why we haven't made contact with aliens. Maybe they just don't care about us. Maybe they're just so advanced and we're just like cockroaches to them. Maybe it's the contrary. Maybe they're not really advanced and like aliens are just bacteria in a planet we can't reach, you know? There's like just so many reasons why we haven't found aliens, if we haven't found aliens. So yeah, this is not in any way proof that we're in a simulation. It's just kind of dumb. I don't know. Point number 3 is called electrons that can't make up their minds. So I'm gonna read this one because this one is one that I can't explain very well because I'm not knowledgeable in the electron field. In physics, famous double slit experiment electrons are fired at a photosensitive screen through slits in a copper plate, usually producing an interference pattern that indicates wave-like behavior. But when the same experiment is conducted under observation, electrons behave like particles, not waves. There is no interference pattern. Some have taken this to mean our simulation is conserving its resources and rendering certain things only when it knows we're looking at them. Okay, so my point with this one is, if they're under observation, they're being recorded, we know it's happening, then it's being observed, you know? If we know that this is happening, then it's being observed and there's no reason why it shouldn't be rendered. I don't know if that makes any sense. But it's not like the idea that if a tree falls and there's nobody to hear it, like, does it make a sound? Because in that scenario, there's nobody there, like, even recording. If there was someone recording, then the tree would definitely make a sound, you know, because then it would be observed. So if there's recording of this means that it is being observed, even if it's not being observed in that second. If it's being recorded, I don't know if this is making any sense, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I think this just, it's kind of it might have another explanation. You know, we don't know all the answers. Number 4 is actually very interesting. It's a very interesting point, and it's one of those points that makes me believe in the simulation theory. But it's definitely not irrefutable. I mean, this could also have an explanation that we just don't know, because once again, we don't know all the answers. And number 4 is DNA that contains a computer virus. In 2017, a multidisciplinary group of researchers at the University of Washington proved that they could embed malicious computer code into physical strands of DNA. Their aim was to show that computers working in gene sequences were vulnerable to attack. But they may also have inadvertently revealed that what we perceive to be biological reality was in fact computer code all along. As I said, like, I think this is amazing. It's super cool that our DNA sequence is so similar to computer code, and it's one of those reasons I personally believe in it. But I know, like, I can tell this to people, and it's just not like, no, like, there's so many questions, you know, we don't know all the answers. So it might be a coincidence. Coincidences do happen. I feel like sometimes people forget that. Number 5 is one that I just think is stupid, and it's called climate change. How convenient. It just basically says that our civilization is just coincidentally set on the cusp of environmental chaos, suggesting we could be ancestors simulation created in hopes that we show our creators how to solve an energy crisis. We were put here to solve this environmental crisis because there's aliens or the real human breed hoping we solve the energy crisis they have. That just makes no sense to me, because we weren't put in this earth unless all our history is fake and we were just put here like not that long ago, and everything we know from like billions of years ago or millions of years or even hundreds of years ago is not real. Then we weren't put here in the middle of chaos. We created the chaos. Humans created the chaos. And by humans, I don't mean indigenous people, I mean capitalism. So it's not like we were put here and the world was like self-destructing. We created the self-destruction. So I don't believe this. I honestly just think that this is putting the blame, like saying like we didn't create climate change when we definitely did. So I don't know. Number 6 is another, is probably one of the ones that I really like a lot about this theory, and it's that video games that look like real life. I'm not a big fan of Elon Musk. I think he's a super villain. I'm gonna read his quote about this because I believe this. And the thing is, Elon Musk is not the first or last person to think this. He said that 40 years ago we had Pong, 2 rectangles and a dot. Now 40 years later we have photorealistic 3D with millions playing simultaneously. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality, even if the rate of advancement drops by 1,000 from what it is now. It is a given that we're clearly on a trajectory that we're going to have games that are indistinguishable from reality. It will seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions. I believe this. Like, even if I'm not an Elon Musk fan, I believe that at one point it's gonna be hard to distinguish reality from games, and it's just gonna be like this fucked up thing. And you know, then if we created it, like, why couldn't we have been created too? And it's like this whole Rick and Morty episode with like the aliens in the battery. If you know what I mean, you understand. But like, I'm not gonna get into it. I believe in this. It's not irrefutable proof that we live in a simulation, though. 1 in a billion is still like some chance that we are base reality. So I think we're not, but you know, whatever. Number 7 is probably I don't know if it's the dumbest point in this whole list, because I haven't gotten through this list. I think I only got until 8. But number 7 is just, I don't understand. It's called Weird News, and I'm gonna read it because some have proposed that recent unlikelihoods, including Donald Trump's election, Brexit, the 2017 Oscar envelope mix-up, and that year's 25-point Super Bowl comeback, could mean we're in a malfunctioning simulation, or whoever is pushing the button is screwing with us. Donald Trump's election? Yeah, it's stupid. It shouldn't have happened, but you know who's to blame? People who voted for Donald Trump. The 2017 Oscar envelope mix-up? You know? mistakes happen, shit happens. It's just like this, I don't understand what this has to do with a simulation. Like, weird things happen all the time. There's so many missing people. There's like so many unsolved mysteries. There's like just a lot we can't explain, and you can't attribute all of that to being in a simulation when it's just maybe like shit that happens sometimes. And Donald Trump winning the election, like, what do you mean? Like, he won because people voted for it. Well, I know elections and like voting in the United States is like not everyone voted for him. It was the electoral college or whatever. It's complicated. I don't understand how it works over there. I don't live there, but it's definitely not weird or like someone screwing with us. Honestly, it's just people being stupid and not knowing how to vote, I would say. Anyways, point number 8 is another one I'm gonna read because Jesus Christ, do I do not understand this, but it's called Quarks with Computer Code. Seemingly not crazy theoretical physicist James Gates claims he has identified what appears to be actual computer code embedded in the equation of string theory that describes the fundamental particles of our universe. He says he found error-correcting codes that would make web browsers work. So why were they in the equation I was studying about quarks and electrons and supersymmetry? I, once again, have no idea about this. I'm not that smart, but I think it's interesting that maybe we are all code, you know? Does it relieve any pressure about my life? No, not really. Even if this somehow ends up being proven, I think, you know, some people might go crazy, but it's still our life, and it's real for us, and that's what matters in the end, at least for me. Now we're gonna go to points that I haven't read, so these are gonna be like my first reaction to them. This is gonna be a long video, I'm sorry. Why does our universe have rules in the first place? MIT cosmologist Max Tegmark has pointed to our universe's strict laws of physics as possible evidence that we live in a video game. If I were a character in a computer game, I would also discover eventually that the rules seem completely rigid and mathematical. In this theory, the speed of light, the fastest rate at which any particle can travel, represents the speed limit for transmitting information within the network of our simulation. So this basically says that the reason we have rules is because we're in a simulation, which once again, potatoes, that means nothing. That's just how things are, you know? It happens, you know? I've heard the same argument posed as evidence that God is real. Does our universe having rules prove that we live in a simulation? No. Does our universe having rules prove that God is real? No. You need more evidence. I need evidence, you know? I need physical evidence, not I think this or like this, blah, 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 blah. Number 10. It's not actually possible to prove we're not living in a simulation. I mean, yeah, but like it's also not possible to prove so many other things. You know, it's not possible to prove that we don't live in a little marble. So we're gonna go with like, oh, marble theory, or the whole universe is in a little marble. You know, we can't prove that we're not in a little marble, right? Or I don't know, how can we prove that we're not just like bacteria living in a tooth that is decaying in a gigantic alien mouth? You know, maybe we're that. Maybe we're just like a cavity in just like this ginormous being that we can't even comprehend. You know, I can't prove that. I can prove that's right, but I can't prove that it's wrong either. You can say that about anything. Let's see what it says. It may be easier to prove that we're living in a simulation than to prove that we're not. Okay? I mean, is it though? Because you just gave me 9 points that really, most of them don't say a lot, so. Sorry if I butchered his name, but nuclear physicist Sore Davudi believes that cosmic rays, the most energetic particles known to man, would appear as pixel-like chunks if we are within a simulation, and unending beams if we're in base reality. Meanwhile, NYU philosopher David Chalmers doubts it's possible to prove that we don't live in the Matrix. You're not going to get proof that we're not in a simulation because any evidence that we get could be simulated. Once again, you can say that about anything, in my opinion. I'm sorry, maybe this is stupid or ignorant, but I feel like you could say that about anything. Like, you could say like so much with that same logic. Doesn't really mean anything. Number 11 is called the Goldilocks zone. Earth exists within what astrobiologists call a Goldilocks zone. Close enough to a star that greenhouse gases can trap heat to keep liquid water, but far enough away that the planet does not become a Venusian hothouse. That we live in such an orbital sweet spot is circumstantial evidence for a simulation. If our sim designers wanted us to succeed, it made sense that they place us in such a cushy environment. Yes, I understand this point, and I do think that it's, a little bit of something that we might live. It's not hard proof. And once again, this could also prove that God is real. This could also prove that we have alien overlords. This could also prove that we're the experiment of alien overlords. This could also just be a fucking coincidence. Maybe we are a coincidence. Our existence was just pure luck. What can I say? I don't know. I think this is also evidence of many other theories, and I've also seen this point used to prove that God is real. So I don't know what to tell you. If you want to know my point of view or like what I believe, God might be real, God might not be real. I will probably never know, and I really don't care. I'm gonna live my life without caring about God. It's basically because I just don't know, and I think that makes me agnostic. But I don't know. I haven't read a lot. I've said this to people, and people say, "Oh, that's agnostic," I guess. But I also like to believe that we live in a simulation, and that maybe we have alien overlords. So I don't know. If we have alien overlords, though, they did not make the pyramids in Egypt. Okay, people made that. Stop saying aliens made things you can't comprehend that old cultures did, because ancient cultures were super smart, probably smarter than us, and they were very capable people. Thank you very much. Point number 12 is, it makes more sense than ghosts. Once again, a lot of things make more sense than ghosts, but let's see what this says. Paranormal events are not haunting or alien encounters, but glitches in the simulation. This theory is the one most explored on Reddit forums like are we living in a simulation, or are glitch in the matrix, where users explore big ideas in philosophy funneled into the details of the odd or the occult. A storefront exists in a town one day, then it doesn't. Explanations include a slip between parallel timelines or a pop-up. A car passenger sees the word render in the sky as if entering a new part of a video game. Elevators are a frequent setting for glitch stories. The jump between floors seems to encourage a slip within dimensions. Okay, so here's the thing. And it shows like some pictures of like things they consider to be glitches in the Matrix, and just people dressed very similarly next to another cars that look exactly like. Some of these are definitely Photoshop, let me tell you. Like that car one, it looks like Photoshop. I'm sorry. Coincidences happen. I don't know what the point of saying it makes more sense than ghosts. I am a big believer in ghosts, in paranormal, not in the way other people are. I don't think they're visible, and I don't think we're ever gonna see ghosts like they're presented to us in the media. I think ghosts are more of a feeling than a thing we can see. But if I were to see a ghost, I'll probably relate it more to a parallel universe. Maybe we're getting a glimpse. I like this whole idea that the Loch Ness Monster and other cryptids are like from a parallel universe, and we're getting like a glimpse at another universe, and that's why like some people see them and some people don't, and it's really hard to get evidence. I used to be really into cryptozoology when I was younger. I'm not anymore because I don't believe in it. All of these are not, I think at this point we can all say that none of these are irrefutable facts. This is all just a bunch of shit. Also, like, all the stories in Reddit, like, you can't prove that they're facts, and it's actually proven that a lot of people make up these stories for fun and me time. They want to share a cool story they came up with. A lot of them are not even presented as real stories, and even if they're presented as real stories, what makes you think they're real? So this is not real evidence of anything. I know I'm sounding negative about all of this, but it's just like, I was researching about the simulation theory, and I was like, ooh, an article showing me irrefutable facts, even though I knew it was like never gonna be irrefutable facts. Don't make bold statements, because I'm gonna come for you. And once again, big believer in the simulation theory, but it's just when people take things this far and say like this is actual proof that we live in a simulation, I feel like that's when people like me who believe in it get attacked, because I would never tell someone like, hey, I have hard evidence. I would just say, you believe in God, I believe in the simulation theory, and you can't tell me that God makes more sense in simulation theory, because it doesn't. And I'm gonna make some people angry by saying that, but it's true. You have no proof of God, I have no proof of the simulation theory, but you believe in God and I believe in the simulation theory, okay? Oh no. Bold statements from Cams that might get her in trouble with her family members. They're never gonna see this, Cams. Number 13. We already know what the bricks of our matrix are. Ooh, interesting. Let's see what this says. According to simulation believers, we may have already found the pixel-sized building blocks of the universe. The Planck length, the point at which our concept of gravity and space-time no longer apply. If our world is simulated, the Planck length would be equivalent to 1 bit of information or a pixel. I would have to read more about the Planck length because I know nothing about it. But if this were irrefutable proof, once again, we would know about it. I mean, I don't think this is something that could be kept hidden. At least Twitter or Reddit would get a hold of it and would be spreading the information, you know? Just a thought. But I don't know enough of it to say much about it. Number 14 is we're already good at making simulations and we're getting even better. Yeah, this is basically the other point, the one I mentioned Elon Musk on. It's the same point. So you're making the same point twice. Just Mr. Matt, I think was your name. I don't want to scroll up and look at your name, but so you're making the same point twice. But let's see what this says. In 2014, the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics connected 8,000 computers to create a 350 million light-year simulation of our universe and digitally aged it over 13 billion years. That the Sims video game franchise has sold over 125 million copies in its first decade shows we're interested in playing with simulations too. If and when a future version of humanity finds themselves with the ability to create more realistic simulations, it won't be a surprise if they opted to use it. It's basically the same point that Elon Musk and other people have made before. You know, video games were Pong and now look where they are. Like, have you seen The Last of Us? Looks beautiful. I said The Last of Us because it's the only recent game I could think of. I've never played The Last of Us. Yeah, so you make the same point twice. I don't know what to say. That just kind of sounds like you wanted it to be 15 because it's a nicer number than 14. Multiple of 5, I guess. I don't know. The last point, just by the title, it just sounds wild. But number 15 is called Yanni versus Laurel. I heard both Yanni and Laurel depending. It's the same with the dress. Let me just read this and then I'll talk about it. Remember in 2015 when the world flipped out because we all looked at the same photo and some of us saw a blue dress while others saw a gold dress? Or the Jenny and Laurel fiasco of 2018? There was also a less explosive blue-gold-white flip-flop debate of 2016. Say what you will about pitch and volume and color saturation, I can't pronounce the word controversies. These controversies made one thing clear. Each of us live in our own world. No, really. What we perceive as reality is in fact partly a simulation created by our brains, using our past experiences to help us process the fragments of data that we're receiving. To put it in another way, there is no spoon. Okay. So the thing about this is I do agree with this to some extent. I think we see the reality we see is what we make of it. And it's just like the whole thing like, oh, do we see the same blue? The dress thing, I saw both colors. I know some people couldn't see both colors. I saw both colors depending on the lighting, depending if I concentrated on one color or the other. I could at one point just think about it and see the color I wanted. Same with Jenny versus Laurel. I could choose which ones to hear depending on which pitch I concentrated in. If you've never been able to see both, I do recommend just going back at it and like just looking at it good. Just don't look at it once, or listen to it once. Just try to concentrate on the different the case of Jenny versus Laurel. Just concentrate on like the different tones and pitches in it, and I think you can change it up really easy. It means nothing. There's a bunch of people who have made videos about like optical illusion and sound illusions, audio illusions. I don't remember what they're called when it's audio. You know, it's all like perception and how we hear things, and a lot of it has also to do with like how we see, how good we see. But that would be like saying the Jenny versus Laurel thing is proof of a simulation would mean that every single optical illusion, there's so many optical illusions, there's so many auditory illusions. So if auditory illusions and optical illusions are a topic that I really love and I've loved since I was a kid. I took this whole class in university about how we perceive stuff. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a really cool class, except that our teacher was a total perv, and not funny at all, but I laughed to cope. It's really interesting, and I don't think it's anything. I just think that our eyes and our ears are not as good as we think. For some reason, there's this whole idea that humans are like amazing, and like, our sense suck. Like, our nose will never be the nose of a dog. Our eyes will never be the eyes of an eagle. Our ears will never be the ears of a, I want to say dog again because I can't think of an animal with good ears. Bat? You know what I mean? So I think it's just like our perception and like our shitty senses. It might all come into play with this. I don't know. This article is very weird, and I know Vulture is not like, oh my god, like super reliable or anything, but it's just like it always rubs me the wrong way when it's a subject that I know, like, that if I were to talk about with the common people, that sounds so bad, the commoners who don't believe in conspiracy theories. I'm joking, but like sometimes I forget that some of my interests are not like, they're normal in the internet, but when I go outside of the internet, it turns out that I just surrounded myself with people that believe the same thing as me, which is good. But when I go and meet with other people that kind of I met through chance, through school, like that maybe we share some interest with some common interests, but it's not like in the internet where I have curated a Twitter feed of people that share similar interests to me, or Tumblr or Instagram of people who I like their work. So if I were to talk about the simulation theory with one of my friends I met through university, for example, they will be like, this girl is fucking insane, which they probably already think, if we're being honest. But it's just like I can see someone who just isn't in this, is not interested in this thing like me reading these and just thinking like everyone who thinks this is, it's all bullshit because they are like, oh, irrefutable facts. I don't know, it just bugs me in a weird way when like this clickbaity titles, and then you read and like there's like no real substance to it. It does make some interesting points, and it makes some points I didn't know about, which I appreciate. I appreciate learning new things, and I'm definitely gonna read on some of those points a little bit more in the future, because as I said, like sometimes I get like super hyper focused on one subject and I read everything about it, and I don't think I've ever gotten super hyper fixated on the simulation theory. I know it's more like something I stumble upon while researching other stuff. I don't know, I just think it's interesting, and I know this is a really long video and probably not very interesting for others, but it's not that I like ranting and getting angry and doing those videos. I think they're really funny when I go back and watch them and listen to, well, I hate hearing my own voice, but I think it's funny to see how riled up I get about nothing. Sometimes I get riled about real shit, it's not always nothing. I've gotten riled up about like some serious stuff, but like these videos are fun for me, and then maybe you learned something you didn't know. And if you believe in the simulation theory or the simulation hypothesis, please let me know, because I just think it's so interesting, and I think that there's definitely like something there. And maybe it's just, my stupid brain, but I think it's a possibility. And I would say it again, even though it'll get me in trouble with religious people. I think that God and the simulation theory, pretty much the same thing. God is as real as the simulation theory. I honestly think there's more evidence that the simulation theory is real than there is of God. So sue me. I don't believe in miracles. Well, I do. I said I don't believe in miracles, but that's for another video. If you wanna hear my position on miracles, just let me know. I will gladly make an hour rant on why I don't believe in miracles, or it's not that I don't believe in miracles, but why I think most miracles are not technically miracles. I'm getting out of hand. This is almost an hour video. Oh god, it's really long. Have a good day. I hope this wasn't too annoying, and if you found what I want for fun, and if you like it and you have fun, then maybe you can have fun with me here. But if you don't, then goodbye. I don't know why you're still here, because this is a almost 40-minute video. So I think you kind of like me at this point if you're listening to this. So I'm just putting that out there, okay? Have a good day, good night, good fight, and I will see you next week. Bye.